Hello. Welcome back to another Sigurwana YouTube video. Fantastic to have you back. For those of you who don't know, my name is Peter and I am the Lodge and Reserve Manager up here on the Sigurwana and Tolo Wilderness Reserves in the Soutpansberg Mountains in northern Limpopo. Beautiful spot to be. As we said in the first video, which we published a few weeks ago, we want to use this channel, this YouTube channel, to show everyone some of the interesting features of Sigurwana and Tolo, some of the highlights of the properties. But I thought today I might take you past one of the most popular features, one of the most popular points to visit on the Sigurwana and Tolo Reserve. It's a point called Vulture Pool, and it's a natural rock pool high up here in the mountains that the Cape vultures often visit to drink and bath. Looking around me, you might be wondering why, if I'm taking you to a pool, a rock pool, am I in an open grassland over here? Well, that is because this is actually the catchment point for most of the water that flows into Vulture Pool. The spring that feeds that river actually starts just down over here, and we'll head over there, see if we can find some of the water coming out of the ground. So let's take a walk down there, see if we can find where the spring comes out the ground, and yeah, take it from there. So we're up at the source now. Not easy to get in there to see some of the water coming up the ground. I think there's a bit of an open patch just up ahead here. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. The fresh mountain water coming out the ground. And although it looks a little bit muddy and not much at the moment, this little muddy patch over here will eventually turn into a crystal clear spring stream flowing down the mountains and into a beautiful rock pool just a little bit further on, which I'll show you soon. So I hope you can hear me over the bubbling little stream here next to me, but we're only about 200 meters down from where we saw that source, and already look how much water is here. If I just turn to this side, look at the pool here behind me. But we're still going to make our way probably another kilometer or so down the river, and then we'll find Vulture Pool. Now let's see what we can find. Yeah, so coming down the rocks over here next to the river, beautiful spot. Some interesting plants also grow over here. I'll have a look at some of them now. In fact, there's two plants a bit further on that I want to show you. Two plants that can actually become invasive species in the wrong conditions where there's been a bit of overgrown. One is this bracken fern behind me here, and the other one is aptly named bankruptcy bush. Right, so this big bush here behind me, Seriphium plumosa, also known as bankruptcy bush or slangbos, quite a well-known bush amongst hikers hiking out in the wilderness, it's quite soft to the touch, so you can actually use it to make a mattress if you plan on sleeping outdoors for the night and you don't have anything else. Known as bankruptcy bush because the plant does tend to proliferate in areas where it's been disturbed or there's been overgrazing, and it can take over an area, which can obviously become a bit of a problem for the farmer of that land. It is an important survival strategy for this plant to take over an area. It is a wind pollinated plant, and obviously the best strategy for a wind pollinated plant is to ensure that there's a lot of it to make pollination as easy as possible. It's the other name slangbos, I think, probably comes from the flowers. It flowers in autumn time, and the flowers stand up quite erect on the plant, might resemble a snake standing erect. Another possibility is, of course, that it's a lot of people have just found snakes sleeping underneath this bush a lot, and hence the name slangbos. Up here where we are, everything is natural. There's no real disturbance to the land. There's no overgrazing by any cattle, as there is no cattle around. So we don't have to worry about this taking over and becoming a problem. It's a natural part of the ecosystem. And yeah, if you just leave them, they carry on and don't really cause a problem. So the next plant that I wanted to show you is a Pteridea maculium. This plant here behind me, also known as a bracken fern. And I have a feeling no matter where you are watching this from in the world, you probably are familiar with this plant already. One of the most successful ferns around. Fossil records date back about 55 million years, and they occur in most continents. Anywhere where you have subtropical temperate climates, you'll find this fern growing. As I said, this fern can also take over an area. It can become an invasive species where land is disturbed, and nothing really eats it. Although, actually, on that note, you can eat what's called the fiddlehead. It's, you know, when a young fern is still tightly rolled up and is about to grow, that's known as a fiddlehead. And people will actually collect it from different fern species, cook them up and eat them as a leafy green. Bracken fern is generally toxic, but you can eat the fiddlehead if it has been cooked properly. I've never tried it. I don't like to try anything that says can be toxic if not cooked properly, just personal preference. But you know, if you want to go ahead, let me know. Maybe I'll bring some back for our chefs at the lodge to try. Leslina, Oliver, if you're watching this, you know what I'm bringing back for you. Anyway, fantastic fern species. We have quite a lot of it on the property. Not a problem. It's not taking over the area. It stays within its range. The land's not disturbed here, like I said earlier. Just a beautiful plant to have around. So we are a little bit up from the river now. We've just moved a bit away, not far, about 60, 70 meters from the river. But I wanted to just show you something interesting over here. There's an interesting site. This is actually an interesting historical site. If I just turn the camera around, so if you look on the ground over here, you can see that amongst the rocks there's a lot of bricks lying, and there was a little hut that was here. You can see this all. There was a hut over here. Let's turn it back. In fact, after I've explored this area, it looks to me like there were about 3 huts over here. And what happened is, during the Second World War, there was a man called Robbie Leibrand, and he was hiding from the police because he wanted to assassinate the Prime Minister of South Africa, Jan Smuts at the time. And he had to go into hiding, and this is actually where he came hiding from the South African police. It's a wonderful story, interesting story. And I tell you what, if you think it might be something you're interested in, leave a message for me in the comments. Say, we want to hear about Robbie Leibrand. Tell us the story of Robbie Leibrand, and I will do a video on it for you and share that story with you. Anyway, let's get back to the river. Whoa! It is getting hot. Perfect weather to visit Vulture Pool. Perfect weather for the vultures to visit Vulture Pool. So maybe we get lucky there. But yeah, I think I need to grab a quick drink of water out of the pool over here. I think one of the biggest privileges actually about living where I live over here is the fact that I can just go to any river anytime and just drink directly from the river. And the water is crystal clear, pure mountain spring water. Absolutely fantastic. Best water in South Africa, I say. Whoa. Warming up. So we've made it. We're about 50 meters away from Vulture Pool. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of the vultures are here yet. They might not be coming today. By this time you would usually see them circling above before they land at the pool, and I haven't seen any sign of them, so they're off somewhere else. But I'm going to turn the camera around now so that you can see Vulture Pool as we arrive over here.
Become obsessed with how I want to see you and me. We're more concerned by any persona rather control us. We need to relax and take a step back, entertain peripheral lights rather than helping those straight at our side.
That is our Vulture Pool, with a view to the north.
We should all look in the mirror again now. We try to impress, taking all the photos, picking out the best in 10 years time. Are we gonna mind all? But everyone starts to believe fashion trends, diet plans, fitness routines. I'm not so ready to break the mold. I took a nosedive in a paradise, made me realize how to feel alive and live life from the center stage with the adrenaline running through my veins. Inside I'm home. I feel it's in my bones, it's in my bones.
There we go, we made it to Vulture Pool at last. Beautiful spot, one of my favorite spots here on Sigurwana. Hard to believe that this big pool, which is about 3 meters deep, I'll have you know, originated from that small little muddy patch that we saw at the beginning of the video. Absolutely fantastic spot, just a spot you can come and sit alone with your thoughts. Although you're not usually alone, you're often joined by little Soutpansberg flat lizards, Plattosaurus relictus, a stunning little lizard with an orange tail and a green body, one of the endemic species, reptile species up here in the Soutpansberg. And of course, as I said, the vultures will often come here. If you look behind me on the rocks here, this white on the rocks, that's the droppings from the vultures. They sit over there, have a bath, have a drink, then sun themselves on the rocks before taking off down this beautiful valley. I suppose it doesn't make much sense to come here to Vulture Pool and not actually say a little bit about the Cape vulture. So maybe we head over to that side over there and let's chat about them a little bit. I was actually just moving across to the other side of the rocks, and I spotted one of these Plattosaurus relictus, the Soutpansberg flat lizard, sitting over here, the male. He's the colorful one. The female's a bit duller, brownish in color. So I'm going to try to turn the camera around and sneak up to him to see if we can get a good view. Look at that, sitting still for us, beautiful.
Took a nosedive in a paradise, made me realize how to feel alive and live life from the center stage with the adrenaline running through my veins.
Right, so here we are. You can see all those droppings behind me. I'm pretty much sitting now where the vultures would sit after having their bath and their drink. They sit up on the rocks over here, sun themselves, dry themselves, then hop off down the valley to the edge of the mountain, find some thermals, get high, and off they'd go. Like I said earlier, the species of vulture that we get visiting us here is the Cape vulture, Gyps coprotheres, and these vultures actually nest on cliff faces, on ledges, on cliff faces. Soutpansberg and Bloberg is perfect for them, especially the south side of the mountain. When people speak about the colonies, the breeding colonies, they usually refer to breeding pairs in the colony. The largest I've heard of was 1,000 breeding pairs, but here where we are, I think our closest colony is about 200 breeding pairs, which is not bad actually. The Cape vulture, one of the largest birds, one of the largest raptors. They have a wingspan of about 2.5 meters and can weigh up to about 11 kilograms. Now, what a lot of you might not know is that many of our vulture species here in South Africa are threatened, and the Cape vulture is no exception. Although numbers do seem to be increasing through conservation efforts, and I know that in about 2013-14 the Cape vulture was listed as an endangered species, but that has been downgraded to vulnerable now, which is really a feather in the cap of everyone involved in conservation and looking after these animals. Whew. I'm struggling with the Mopani bees here, typical pests on a hot summer's day. That's nothing to complain about. But back to the vultures. So a few threats that they would typically encounter: high pylons, high wires. They often would fly into these and that would kill them. Maybe one of their biggest threats. But also poaching. Their body parts are used in traditional muti medicine. And sometimes they are just collateral damage of farmers poisoning carcasses to target other predators on properties, like jackals that may be disturbing their cattle. In fact, just in front of me over here, I'm going to turn it around. See, this is what we often find up here at Vulture Pool. So these are some bones, typical vulture bones. This would have been a bird that was poisoned. When that happens, if they can, they'll often come up to an area like this. So they'll often come up to an area like this where there's water. I think the poison maybe makes them thirsty, and then we find them dying over here, which is very sad. But like I said, the positive side of the story is that their numbers are increasing, and that is through conservation. People are out there actively looking after these birds and protecting them, which I think is fantastic. So there we go, we made it to Vulture Pool. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was wonderful bringing you along. As I said, we are going to be making a lot more videos in the future, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on them. Please share this video with any friends you think might find it interesting. I think I promised one video a week in the first video I made. That might have been a little bit ambitious, I'm realizing now. We are busy on the property, but we definitely maybe one every 2 weeks or so. Yeah, I'm getting quite warm now, so I think I'm going to go for a dip in Vulture Pool. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my swimming costume with, but alone up here in the mountains, you don't need a swimming costume. But I definitely am not going to be putting that on camera. So, goodbye.